here at Salt Lake City, and I'm at Intermountain Donor Services, and I'm going to have a quick interview with Dixie Madsen, who is one of the directors here at Intermountain Donor Services, and I'm going to ask her a few questions about the donor registry. What is Intermountain Donor Services, and what do you do here?
Intermountain Donor Services is the federally designated organ procurement organization that services all of Utah, part of Idaho, and part of Wyoming. And what that means is we are the organization that coordinates the recovery of organs for transplant. So anytime a hospital in our service area, if someone dies in that hospital, the hospital will contact us, and we can ask a couple of questions, get an idea whether or not that person would have the potential to be an organ donor. We can check and see if they're on the waiting, or if they're on the registry, if they've registered to be an organ donor. We can work with their families, and basically from the point the person passes away up through the donation of organs, we coordinate that whole process.
Alright, so what are the ways a person can register to become a donor?
The way that most people register, and the easiest way to register, is when you go to get your driver's license or state ID card. You can just mark yes on the application, and then you will be put into the registry. People can also go online to yesutah.org, and they can register online. If someone doesn't have access to the website, they can call our office, and we can send them out a form. The number to call our office is 866-YES-UTAH.
Are there restrictions to become a donor?
We encourage everyone, if they're interested, to register and say yes. And then at the point they pass away, we can kind of look at it then, because there are some things at some point that might cause someone to not be able to donate, but sometimes things change, sometimes our health changes, and so I hate to have anybody think that they can't donate and not register. And so I always just encourage people, if you're interested, register, and then let the medical staff figure that out, whether or not you're able to once you pass away.
Alright, so how can a person find out more facts and about organ and tissue donation?
They can go to our website. The same website you'd go to register, yesutah.org, has a lot of information there. If they have specific questions, they're welcome to call our office. And we also have people who, we kind of focus on schools, but if you have a community group or like a church group that you wanted to schedule a presentation about organ donation, we would be happy to arrange that and send someone out to do that as well.
Alright, well, thank you for doing this interview with me. Hi, I'm here with Lisa Osmond here, and so Lisa, how did you get involved with organ and tissue donation awareness?
Well, it was around 8 years ago, Mike, that I had my son, my oldest son at that time. He'd come home from a driver's ed class, and in that class at school, he had learned about organ and tissue donation. And he thought it sounded so neat that he'd signed up, and he was so excited to tell me that day. He said, "Mom, this is so cool. I get to be an organ donor." And so we talked about it. He made a comment. He said to me that day, "If there's anything that ever happens to me and I can donate something, anything, I want to be a donor." And so I remembered that conversation. We didn't talk for very long, but he did tell me how he felt. It was a couple weeks later that he had to be rushed to Salt Lake on a life flight airplane. And I went with him, and as we got into the hospital room there, and the doctor had told me that my son was not going to make it, that he actually had been pronounced brain dead. And told me that he wasn't going to be coming back home. And then he also asked me, "What do you know about donation?" And that just triggered a memory in me. I remembered that conversation I had with my son just a couple weeks before this, and I said to that doctor, "Oh, my son's a donor. He wants to do this." And I said, "Yes, yes, yes." And so they got the process started. And the day that my son passed away, he was able to save 3 different people's lives. He was able to donate both kidneys and his liver. And it was about a year after that I actually got a letter in the mail, and I was able to meet the man that actually got my son's liver. And so he's family to me now. He's part of my family, and I love him dearly. He's very, very close to me.
So, Mr. Swayze, you are the recipient of a heart transplant, so why did you need a heart?
I had a heart attack in December of 1996.
2006.
2006. We went in on a late Sunday night, and they said I'd had a heart attack, and they shipped me out here to Provo, and they tried to open up the arteries that were plugged. And, they were all plugged off. They were able to get one partially open, and they put a stent in it. But my heart was functioning less than 10%. And they put what they call a balloon pump in the artery in your leg. And they kept me alive. We were here in Provo for, what was it, 5 days?
5 days.
And there was a nurse there that told Sandra that if there was any chance of me living, that they should get me up in Salt Lake where they had the artificial heart program. And so Sandra asked the doctor about it, and he said, always, we're doing everything that can be done. But by the next morning, he had contacted the LDS hospital and their artificial heart program. There was a Dr. Long and a Dr. Renland who was over that, and they agreed to accept me up there. So they transported me by ambulance the next day.
And
Before
Mom the jar.
Before I went into surgery, my brother had come, and I had him give me a blessing. And in that blessing, he had told me that I would receive a happy heart. And I thought to myself when he said that I thought that's a stupid way to say a blessing. And then we didn't know till later why he had said that. But after I'd got out of surgery and I was still losing a lot of blood and stuff, but they come out and told the family that everything had gone good, that I was losing a little blood, but they could take care of that. And the doctor's words were, he sure received a happy heart, because when we put it in and sewed it in, it started beating on its own. And he said that doesn't happen very often, about 1 in 1,000. So he said he sure received a happy heart. And they didn't expect me to be awake for a few days. Most don't wake up very fast. The following morning, I started waking up, and they had a clock there on the wall. It was about 8:15 in the morning. And I woke up, and for some reason I had a fear that I couldn't move. And I can remember laying there on the bed and looking at my hands, and I wanted them to move, and they wouldn't. I think it was just the drugs. And I fell back asleep, and then I woke up again, and it was almost 25 after 8. And I remember looking at my finger, and I thought, well, if I can't move my hand, then I'll try moving my finger. And so I went like this, moved my finger, and then I looked over to this hand, and I went like this. And I moved this finger, and I thought, well, if my fingers will move, my hand will move, so I went like this. And of course, the nurses jumped on me and said, he's awake, grab him before he starts pulling. And so it was quite a feeling to feel that new heart beating, because it was so much stronger than what the other one was.
And you could feel that difference.
It was it's a feeling you can't explain. What other questions do you have?
Do you know anything about the person the donor that gave you the transplant?
When you get your heart, you sign a paper that you will not try to contact the people who donated the heart. But yes, we did find out. It was about a year after, and his mother sent a letter. He was a 22-year-old kid and as a young man, from the letter you read that he was a farm kid and he worked in the oil field. And we have a picture of him. She sent a picture.
Cool.
I remember looking at the pictures of the heart and saying, "You're younger than me." Dad said, "You think so?"
His name was Darren.
And we found out he was.
And big, strong, healthy kid. And he came out of a little town out of Arboles, Colorado. And whatever happened on the Sunday. And I got my heart on Tuesday, so. And he died in a Grand Junction hospital, so I guess that's where I got the Grand Junction. So yes, we do know who he is and where it came from.
But tell them about having to sign a letter of consent to let them know about you.
We sent his mother a letter and told her about us and a little bit about me. You give those letters to the donor association and they pass them on. You're not allowed to contact them directly. They have a consent form that you can send that releases them and gives them, if they choose, they can contact us.
So April is National Donate Life Month. I read that you got your heart in April about 5 years ago that you said. So how are you feeling now?
I feel good now. I'm not back to 100% of what I was. I lost a lot of strength during the time I was sick, and I've never gained all of that back. But I do feel good and I can do anything I want to.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with me. It's been great to learn about knowing what it's like to be a recipient and seeing that perspective and instead of just having other perspectives of different of organ and tissue donations. So thank you very much. So, Vaimalaha, you are the recipient of a heart transplant. Why did you need a new heart?
Because said that I had a viral, I don't know what it's called, but like something, yeah, an infection like created a hole in my heart, and so in one of my chambers, so it's like leaking blood or something like that. Sorry, I don't really know all the details. I was 9 at the time.
So what is it like waiting for an organ transplant?
Honestly, I have no idea because as I was waiting and stuff, I remember being in the hospital for like months and weeks. They couldn't find out what was wrong, and after the months and weeks, I guess I was in a coma where in that coma that I had no clue of flying anywhere, so they sent me from California to Utah because Utah has the best doctors for heart. And yeah.
So do you know anything about the person of the heart that you received?
All I know about him that he was 21 at the time, and that he was handicapped. Like, I received a letter from the mom saying, like, they had so much hope that their son's heart that was to somebody, they can have a better chance of living. And they said that in their letter that our son is still alive out there, and we would like to hear back from you. So that's.
So, how did you feel about that person from what you knew about him?
From what I knew about him, I was very grateful, and I don't know, I was just really grateful that I got a second chance to live.
So
And
how
he
are
seemed
you-
like a pretty good person.
That's good.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling now?
Now I'm at the best stage that I've ever been in. I've had 3 heart rejections, 2 major rejections. It's just my very last rejection, which was 3 years ago. I had to be in the hospital for like 3 months, so I've got to miss a lot of school from it because I'm not taking my meds. So yeah.
So what was the first signs, or how did you know that you were having rejections?
I just get really sick, like my face, I turn a different color. Like, I don't know, I just really don't feel good, I guess. And then, like, I start puking and I go to the doctors and find out, they can't figure out what's happening. And then I go to my regular doctors, who are the ones over my heart. They find out, like, instantly what's going on. So, and they somehow always know, I don't know, they have like a secret code or something that they know when I'm doing something wrong or something. So it's just, yeah, doctors, they really do pay attention. It's a lot.
That's good. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences. That's probably pretty tough to be explaining about all that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.